just all you guys.
It's amazing theatre.
Amazing theatre. Let's just take it in. Oh, look at that. They're up there.
We know.
Let's talk a little bit about the movie viewers.
First, I want to talk about delivery. What?
Sorry, David.
Oh yeah, way ahead of you. I said this. I subtly did it. How did this look? New Zealand, that's all it takes. That's terribly sorry. Okay.
We're out of time, guys. Sorry.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, that's great. So this one goes a ways back for you. This project goes, 8-9 years. It's on a book that you fell in love with. Talk to me about what gave you the confidence that this would come out as well as it did. Because on paper, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I didn't have any confidence in this working, but I felt quite nervous about it, but that's why I get attracted to that kind of chaos. The idea that something, I always felt like this would be just a good way to go out. It's like if I'm going to end it, be or something like this.
Right.
And yeah, so that if it feels like a career ender, then it's really good that for me it's worth trying. It didn't work. Try again.
But actually, on paper, the script was really good, and I think that's what Taika's not talking about is that he'd written a beautiful script that had all the heart and had the humour that you see in this movie, and I think that's what attracted all the cast and all the crew that came on board to make the movie. And the challenge was really just, could we make a movie that was better than the script because it was so great?
Turns out not.
Scripts are available as you walk out the door.
We're selling the scripts from the trunk of our car. Yeah, it's definitely like a film that you don't really, it's very hard to pitch this film to anyone. As soon as you say, well, it's about a little boy and the Hitler Youth, you just suck all of the atmosphere out of the room as soon as you start with that. And then you try and make it better and say, but it's got some jokes in it. And Hitler's in it. So I just decided to write the best screenplay I could and let that be the pitch.
Let's talk about the casting. Was it always going to be you as Adolf?
Obviously. Growing up in a small native community in New Zealand, it's every young brown boy's dream to get to Hollywood and take that coveted Hitler role that all actors want so desperately. You've got the Dane and the Austrian. But no, it was never there. No. But when Searchlight said they wanted to make a film, they said we only really want to do it if you play that role. Which in the end I think makes sense, because if it was like an actual actor, I think that they would have put too much effort in. I think that they would have tried to be too authentic. And I don't think anyone wants to see an actual Hitler in a movie like this. I think it would have ruined all the scenes and ruined the movie. And if it was like a celebrity, I think that would have also detracted from the heart of the story, which was about those kids. It would have become the George Clooney of the movie. Will Smith of the movie.
I'd be interested in that
It
too.
would be good. I did at one point think, oh well, maybe Jojo is also obsessed with Jesse Owens, and he's got this mashup of Jesse Owens and Hitler, and it would have been quite an interesting. We should go back and
Part 2.
open the movie up again, do a sequel.
Your own remake. What about, okay, so you mentioned the kids, but if the performances of your two lead actors, the two young men, in this don't work, this film doesn't work. Neither of them had ever appeared in a film. Little to zero acting experience.
And they will leave.
Well, starting in Home Alone, this is crazy. Truly. So what were you looking for in your young actors, and was it, do you approach directing young performers differently than, say, Oscar winners like Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, when I'm auditioning kids, usually I like kids who have never acted before, just because they're you can manipulate them more, exploit them, and then once they're finished, it's the top. But what I look for is someone who resembles the character as closely as possible. So then they don't actually have to do anything other than just learn the lines and say those lines fast. And so Roman, so the kid at the end of the film dancing on the street, that is Roman. That's just him being himself. He's a beautiful, sensitive kid who cares deeply about people. And so once I found that kid, all I had to do was put this indoctrination on top of him and a weird little uniform, and then sort of slowly strip that away throughout the film. But child actors are way better than grown-up actors. Grown-ups always bring this like actor think to everything. I think my character was abused when I'm going to bring back to the scene and it's like just overthinking everything. And whereas kids, all they want is just money and to not go to school. Very clean, clear transaction.
You mentioned the ending. Was that always the ending? The dance, that specific song choice, was that in the script?
Yeah, draft one was always heroes. Usually I would start with the end, but this is still at the beginning. Cool story, huh?
What was the toughest scene, or what was the scene that you're most surprised you finally cracked? Like, what was the toughest scene to crack in the writing or the shooting of this, that in seeing the finished product you're kind of relieved works as well as it does?
Well, we believe the whole thing.
Well, I think that the scene that was written sort of later was the scene with Rosie and Jojo at the dinner table. That scene was something that Taika was writing as we were going into pre-production, and it's hard to get that performance, get a performance of a mother performing for her child and the complexity and the layering in that scene. I think that was the scene that you really achieved the great.
Yeah, I was really happy with the outcome of that scene.
Good.
The film was, I've said it before, it's a love letter to mums. And especially my mother introduced me to the book that I adapted. And I think just what mothers do for their kids and what they're willing to do for their kids, and especially in the situation to try and shield this this guy from all of these ideas that are floating around and all these influences. I really loved that character. She was based a lot on Ella Pearson, and Alice doesn't live very long, which I think is a great mother character. My other favourite moment is kicking Hitler out with me. I'm glad that worked.
You hate yourself. You just like to see yourself abused. We have time for some questions from this audience. If you want to, who should I call? You want me to good cop, back up? I'll be the back cop. Let's start at the front, and then we'll go back. You, sir. Yes.
So I was just wondering, you were talking about how you hire people who are not as experienced in acting. How would someone who doesn't have a lot of acting experience, or necessarily Hollywood acting experience, get to experience this sort of like anything you can do, non-Hollywood?
Well, you'd have to be about 10. I definitely don't do. Everyone's different. Some people really, they really flourish both from taking classes and stuff like that. I didn't do that. You can tell. But I don't. I sort of know my limitations, with this sort of stuff. But with I don't know. That's impossible.
But to know about Taika, Taika spent a lot of time working with his friends, and so that's sort of, I think, maybe was your training ground, was, spending a lot of time with friends and doing things without the pressures, you made your first four films in New Zealand, without the pressure of other people on you. I think that's a good way to stay true, refine yourself and all of this.
Yeah.
Go all the way in the back. Yep, that's you. Just turned around. Yep.
Hi, I'm wondering, I love the music that you choose for all your films. I'm wondering how you choose the songs in particular.
This film I wanted to do contemporary, like a lot of songs are kind of old now, but yeah, in the dialogue, I know no one spoke like that back then. I wanted to feel contemporary because I wanted, ultimately I wanted young people to watch the film and understand that this could be happening right now, and in some places this is happening right now. And so I wanted to feel like these kids are just like us, and the music, I feel like the Beatles song, they have a very clear intention, which is to tell the world that the Beatles were just like them. That he was a pop star of those times, and to see how like a country could be swept away in this frenzy and the mania. And that it was a real celebration for him, for that kid as well. And then, as I was saying before, Heroes was always in the script right from the first draft. So Tom Waits and also Alpha Lee. Then we got Michael Giacchino to do the score. And he said to me, what feeling do you want? I just said, just make it sound like Up.
Let's go to the middle. You, miss, please. Yes.
Hi, I know you're religious, and I'm Northern Arapaho. I thought it was really interesting that you had like rumor ahead. I was wondering what was the creative decision behind that? Just maybe
Hitler in a headdress. Just wanted to appropriate as many things as possible in one shot. Well, he was actually, in real life, he was obsessed with cowboys and Indians, and it was the only thing.
Let's go to you, sir.
You just brought up the contemporary moment, and so you've been working on it for a few years, but in real life, the fascists and the Nazis are crawling back out from their rocks. I'm curious, as you've been making this movie, how that kind of loomed large, or did you ignore that entirely?
When I wrote the script in 2011, there weren't as many of them. They were still under the rocks, and then I got distracted and made 3 other movies, and then came back to this. And at that point, the timing was sort of worked out. Even though I can't say, oh, I'm happy that everyone is weird and racist. This movie has more resonance, but. Yeah, I am glad I waited because I feel like it does mean more now. But yeah, it's not like when I wrote it wasn't in reaction to anything other than I just wanted to really focus on what kids experience in war, in any war, and really it was more me exploring as a father as well, and what kids see us do, they observe us, and that informs who they become. And I think that's because there wasn't many like it's pretty simple. Just be kind and make better versions of yourself with children. Just like raise them, just like learn from your mistakes and make better versions of yourself. Some people are like, I'm perfect, I'm going to make an exact replica of myself. And that's where the danger is people not trying to further humanity.
You, miss, yeah.
I just want to say that this is my favorite movie of the year, and I've seen it several times, and Boy is another one of my favorite movies, so thank you so much for that. My name is Evangeline, by the way. My question is, several of your movies have to do with childhood and growing up and telling the stories from the point of view of children, and I wanted to know if you could talk about what the value that you see in telling stories from the point of view of children, why that movie is compelling.
Are you trying to suggest that all my movies are about kids with father issues? That's what you're trying to say. Somehow I'm trying to exercise these demons and these issues that I have, where whose love I've been desperate to get throughout my life, and even after his death, but I'm still desperate for that validation. Right. I do love I've always just felt like those kind of stories and how children hold a mirror up to us. It's always been something that I don't actually like working with kids. It's really hard. But what they give you when they give you like an amazing performance, it's so truthful and so honest, and actually it transcends like the pretend of this world making film and everything. And when you capture that stuff, it's really, really special. And I've always just loved seeing this world. And as I've gotten older, you wouldn't be able to tell a look in my face from 40 but just as I've gotten older, just more and more being aware that this world that we live in, it's, I think like the only way to really make sense of it is to ask children what they think of it.
Let's go, yes, Eunice. Yep.
I wanted to ask, why did you choose a big kid comedy instead of like a more serious movie from the perspective of the kid?
Why did you just make it more comedic as opposed to a drama, essentially?
Instead of a more serious comedy from the jokes.
Yeah. Comedy has always, for me, been a really great and effective weapon in just pinpointing things that are ridiculous and ideologies and rules. And when you make a joke about a rule, then everyone understands that the rule is preposterous. You start understanding that a lot of things in society and in this world very flimsy. And I've always been a big fan of comedy focusing on those things. And I love a lot of these the films that deal with the subject in a very dramatic way. I don't know how to make a drama. I really couldn't do it. And I feel like you look at Nazis in a lot of films, they're always portrayed as like super efficient, elite, something to be feared. They've got everything worked out, and yes, they were calculating, and they were very good American people. And but I prefer to take the power away from them by ridiculing, and I feel like if they're constantly portrayed as these things to be feared, then that's the effect that they wanted from the beginning, and I refuse to let them do that. And so having comedy in this film is a great way. Comedy is great because it opens audiences up. It makes you more receptive. When someone tells a joke, you start listening more, and you want more, and you get more engaged. I think with a lot of dramas, when you're watching films, you're going in and you're going to be depressed, and that the ending will be really sad. All films are going to have. The audience is always sort of like, And when you just open people up with comedy, they open up, and that's when you can deliver, I think, more meaningful messages.
When we're making the film, one of the things we do is do a lot of testing with audiences to make sure we get the tone right. And one of the tests we did was in Dallas, and we had a woman come up in the focus group afterwards come up. She said, I stood up and said, I'm a 20-year-old Jewish woman, and I love this film so much because I think we should be laughing at Nazis in the street. We should all be just laughing at them because they're so stupid. And that was such a great moment to know we're on the right track.
Yeah, we are on the right track, and that's like the Gestapo scene with all the Heil Hitlers. It's very Monty Python inspired scene, and that's just from observing and making, not giving them the respect, or buying the fear that they wanted. by saying, well, how do they get anything done when they have to do this all day long? It's awesome, you know, and how ridiculous was that? I mean, you look at the costumes. Their costumes, or the insignia, literally looks like it was designed by a 12-year-old. If you would ask the 12-year-old, what do you want on this uniform? That's basically how they dress. On their hats was a skull crossbones, like fucking pirates. They had lightning bolts on their belts. They had like eagle hair, wolves, and more skeletons, and flames, and so everything. I mean, if they don't know about laser guns, they're fucking guaranteed there was a laser gun on their jackets. So if you look at that as well, it is ridiculous, and yeah, that's what it's all about. Fuck those guys.
My name is Eric. I just wanted to thank both of you for making a truly special picture. I'm really rooting for the Oscars this year. So my question to you, Taika, you've solidified yourself as one of the most unique directors and filmmakers. Your style is just beaming with so much uniqueness. And I just want to know, how did you develop that kind of directing style, and how would you take that style and put it into huge films like Thor Ragnarok, World of Thunder, Mando, and who would you say inspired you the most for your style?
Well, I think every director who wants to be cool, like me, wants to be right, will probably cite Hal Ashby as a big reference. He didn't really have a particular style, and he moved in and out of different things, and couldn't really, couldn't really sort of lock them down. That would be one of the big influences to me. I had the benefit of, every time I made a film, coming to the States and reading 10 terrible scripts, and then deciding I should just go back to New Zealand and make my own thing. So I've been 4 or 5 times doing that. What was good is that I learned to have more confidence in my own voice, the kind of stories I wanted to tell. If I had stayed here after the first film and made one of those scripts, I wouldn't be here. This film wouldn't exist, and I would have, maybe we would have had a house. But yeah, it's choosing the path that's going to take longer. I did that for 10 years before I started, doing stuff like this, and you can take the very fast route. What do you say over here? Hey, don't look at me. Oh yeah, there's other people that pay your films divisive. Is it divisive or divisive?
There's divisiveness over that issue, yeah, exactly. One more, I think we have time for one more question. Let's go over here. Yes, the hat. Yep.
I was going to ask, my brother and I like to write scripts together, and I was wondering if you could talk about your writing process and how it varies between like just your yourself versus like what we do as bad as co-wrote. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, writing is the loneliest experience I've had. I used to love it so much, and then now it's just every time I open, nothing fills me with more dread than looking at that page. It's not that I've run out of ideas, it's just typing. What I do is I will, but also the thing is, here's my advice, turn off the internet. Because it's just a vortex. And I will just the other day about like things that I procrastinate a lot, but I'll write and I'll go, this character turns up in a car. What kind of car? Trans Am. I need to research Trans Ams. And then I'll spend 4 hours looking at Trans Ams on the internet, and then I'll buy one. Then I'll spend all my money getting it fixed, and wouldn't have progressed the script at all. With Jermaine and What We Do in the Shadows, we wrote for 7 years, but we're notoriously lazy. So I'm faster by myself, but with him, we were like together. We would email each other and say, what if Steve comes in Will? Maybe. And then they would just go on the list of things. And then, ridiculously with that film, we wrote a 150-page script that we didn't use. It was just improvised around, only him and I read it. Complete waste of time. Here's what I do, and like no one likes to get to meet someone who actually wants to do this. Usually I'll write a script, put it aside for like a year or two, pull it out of the drawer, read it, and then throw it away. And then, I mean, I'll keep one copy somewhere, but then rewrite it from memory. And what happens is you filter out. The thing is, you've got to like leave it alone for a couple of years. No one wants to do that. None of you want to do that. You think you're geniuses. I used to be like you. No, it's geniuses. And then you read it, and then you filter out all the stuff that was, written by a different person a couple of years ago, and then you have a 120-page script turns into 70 pages, like nice streamlined. This is the point of the story. Then you can add in your jokes and your imagination.
Well, whatever the process, you guys arrived at a great product. The script is nominated for an Academy Award along with 5 other categories. Good luck next Sunday. Thank you guys so much for coming out, selling out. Thank you.